creation process for most is one that's accessed in an unconscious way. We're essentially unconsciously creating our reality. Our spirit has been housed inside of the brain in the pineal chakra for the last couple thousand years. And for most people, understanding that there's a different operating system or way of relating and creating in their lives is something that's completely abstract or foreign to them. So I know for myself and my own experience, I lived a lot of my life in that way, and it breeds suffering, it breeds hardships. You will have moments of experiences in your life where you feel as though you're going down a path that is healthy and you're making a difference in your life. And hopefully if you've come to the awareness that life really is to be in service and be of assistance to your fellow brothers and sisters of humanity. But learning something and oftentimes this whole relationship to heart-focused living or heart-based living is something that would either need for you to experience a catastrophic trauma in your life that really throws you off of your path, or you go in and you change the way in which you see, which belief patterns really, from my experience, meditation is the only way to do that. So once one comes to understand that the heart has this magnetic field that's thousands of times stronger than the brain, and that they can create from only love, now how do you actually do it, which is a really big step. You look at these books like The Secret and movies that came out that were speaking about that you could essentially focus on something for a long enough period of time and you can have that thing. It is a way to create through the brain, but you also create within the system in which you're focusing on. So the brain is polarized. Anything you create in polarity or with your spirit housed in that location, you will also create the complementary opposite of it. So you want to create more money, there has to be a cost for you to be able to reach that level of existence. Maybe your family, your children who were your foundation for most of your life, is now you're not spending as much time with them because you're putting more focus into creating more money. And we're centered in one or more areas of life. In this part of the world, work, relationships, money are the really big ones. So when you create from the heart, it's created in a different way. You use imagery. You have to first know that you're there. So learning how to move your spirit from the functioning system of the brain into the system of the heart, and then be able to see from that way. Essentially, when you create from the heart, you're creating things that are going to have and make a difference on a planetary level, on a global level of humanity, and shifting us away from competition and economic growth and moving back into nature, humanitarianism, working with one another as brothers and sisters, essentially walking in the womb of Mother Earth here on the planet and working together to start to really live in the way that we were meant to, remember who we really are. We've lost our way. And the only way back is for us to learn how to see from our heart. And there's a lot of teachings and information out there that doesn't give you a direct path. Journeys into the heart is something that will, the beautiful thing about this exercise, about this workshop is that it's presenting different methods so that the individual, the student can resonate or harmonize with whatever makes the most sense to them. In the past, we've been teaching a couple different methods and may or may not resonate with the student. We're here, they're definitely leaving the workshop. I had the pleasure of being a student in the workshop with Daniel, and the first time he taught it here in Toronto, and it really, really is a beautiful system because the students will find something that resonates with them and a method of practice to be able to live from that place. And when you see from the heart, you start to see yourself in the eyes of every human being you come in contact with, and life really, really becomes the way that we were meant to live it on this earth.
Beautiful. Is there anything else?
The way in which I understand is energetically you're made up of three parts. Your spirit and its location will dictate the way in which you see life. So if your spirit is housed in the brain, then you are seeing through polarity, hate, love, happiness, sadness. You need to know one to know what the other one is. Nobody has ever been happy that hasn't been sad. If you've been happy your whole life, you wouldn't know what that is because you wouldn't have any point of reference. Your soul holds the memory of your lifetimes, and your higher self is your direct relationship or connection to God. So energetically, we're made up of these three different parts. So the location, to your question, of your spirit will dictate in the way in which you see. And we only have three systems of function. We have the sphere of the brain, so your spirit can be housed within it, the heart, or the navel. The navel is one that's difficult, very, very difficult, because that's essentially you're functioning like a child, the way Buddha reached enlightenment. The heart is the way of Jesus, so it's a bridge for us. into that relationship to really being centered in our being. For one to be centered in their being, you see things as truth, which would mean if you looked at two trees, you wouldn't pass judgment or perceive one as being bigger or smaller, or one as being a birch tree and an oak tree. You would just see a tree. Something that is elusive for us as human beings to be able to attain, but not something that we can't strive towards, that's for sure. Well, the interesting thing about Journeys into the Heart is it presents you with all these different methods and ways to get into the heart. Awakening the Illuminated Heart, which is an accumulation of Drunvalo Melchizedek's work and Daniel Mattel, teaches you how to create. So the two workshops work synergistically with each other. So it's advised that you do both, because in Journeys into the Heart, you do not learn the creation process. So it definitely advised that you do both workshops, because then they go together and you have all the tools that you need.